past 3 years to put together an extensive and totally free online teacher education program directed at in-service and pre-service teachers of English in Europe and around the world. Teachers who shared the curiosity to learn about English as a lingua franca or ELF, and to dig deep, experimenting with very specific suggestions for integrating it in their teaching practices. I believe I speak for all my partners and colleagues in this project in saying that we are all really grateful that this online program attracted and involved hundreds of teachers from virtually every continent. So these are the partners of the ENRICH Project. The Hellenic Open University coordinates the project, and we have Boğaziçi University, CTI, Computer Technology Institute and Press, Oslo Met from Norway, Boğaziçi University is from Turkey, CTI from Greece, and of course the Hellenic Open University from Greece, Lisboa, Universidade of Lisboa from Portugal, and Roma Tre from Italy, Rome, Italy. As you can see, we have developed a really extensive but very flexible continuous professional development infrastructure that has incorporated data from an extensive, a really extensive and large-scale needs analysis that involved all the major stakeholders, from teachers to learners, even younger learners and adolescent learners, including migrants. We developed an original online environment that hosted this platform, this project, the teacher education program, which consists in what is really a blended learning CPD course that incorporates mainly an online participation, but can also invite and involve face-to-face interactions with the teacher educators as well. We have just published a handbook that is available on the ENRICH website that addresses all target groups and refers to everything we've done in a really comprehensive way. And of course the project, since it is an Erasmus project, is fully and appropriately evaluated and disseminated. And this conference is in fact part of its dissemination. The priority of the project is to focus on promoting certain teacher competences that would integrate what we call ELF, or English as an International Lingua Franca, in classrooms, English language classrooms that are essentially multilingual and multicultural, and to prepare our learners to become successful interactants and communicators in a world that is increasingly multilingual and really demanding from that perspective. So we see English as a language that is owned not just by its so-called native speakers, but by everybody who is using it. And this is in fact reflected in the European dimensions and that we studied really closely in developing this project. The European Union has a very specific strategy for multilingualism that promotes multilingualism as a tool to enhance social cohesion, intercultural dialogue, competitiveness of the European economy, and citizens' mobility, employability, and lifelong language learning. So all these can be achieved through the promotion of multilingualism in schools, essentially. And the European Union goes even further to identify English as one of the ways, one of the instruments that teachers and policymakers can use. English, the global dimension of English, the global use of English, what we call English as a lingua franca, to try to achieve these aims. So we see English in its new role as the lingua franca, not just English in the traditional role that is linked to a very specific culture, and this is what we tried to do in the project, following the really huge bibliographical research that has been going on in ELF for at least 20-25 years or more. Also, the European Commission goes further to incorporate the element of change that that characterizes ELF really closely. Change in how we teach language in schools, and that's really important. So change is necessary because we need to create culturally and linguistically inclusive environments for all learners. And we can do this through languages of international communication. This is one way that the European Commission, quite recently, as you can see, has identified as one of the ways to do that. So what we try to do is give teachers the strategies and the opportunities to experiment with English as a lingua franca, the research that is going on in ELF, communicate that research and enable them to go further, integrating ELF in their classrooms through the framework of ELF awareness. English is a catalyst for change. English is not viewed in the English as lingua franca tradition as just another dimension of a very specific lingua culture, the British or the American or the Australian or South African or whatever. It belongs to everybody, and viewed in this way, it can in fact be used really appropriately and properly to develop multiculturalism and multilingualism in the classrooms. And as Henry Widdowson has said, English has been deforeignized and has become common property. English is not anymore a foreign language. As some of us call it, English, EFL can be redefined as to mean English, not English as a foreign language, but English as a familiar language. But that dimension is currently not sufficiently integrated in the syllabi, the curricula, and the courseware. There's many attempts that are being made to to promote that integration, and this is what we try to do with this project: raise awareness and make teachers help them become more active in this direction, understand exactly what is going on with ELF and try to incorporate it in their classrooms. So English is a deforeignized language, is essentially a shared language, and it is an inherently multilingual means of communication among people from different lingua cultural backgrounds. This is essentially a simple definition of ELF. As far as ELF awareness is concerned, we have defined ELF awareness, and this is how we are using it, as just an opportunity to engage with ELF research, especially for teachers and policymakers and teacher educators, and try through this engagement to develop their own notion of their own understanding of the different ways in which ELF can be integrated in one's classroom. The point being that ELF is not the same as British English or Standard English. ELF is very different, it's very flexible, it's very open. So it is whatever it is when we use it, it always changes. So in order to incorporate the dimension or the philosophy, if you like, of ELF awareness in the classroom, since you cannot really teach ELF in the way that you would teach a standard variety of English, what is necessary is to promote in teachers critical reflection, thinking critically about what they do when they teach, being able to design, to adapt and adopt courseware, to implement and experiment with new ways of teaching and learning and incorporating this global use of English that their own learners are exposed to outside of the classroom, and of course to evaluate everything that they do, the activities, the way they assess, everything that they do in the classroom in a way that is meaningful for their local context, and this is particularly important. That's exactly what we tried to do with the online program that we developed in the ENRICH project. ENRICH can mean many things. First of all, it's all about English as a lingua franca and its awareness of the use of English as a lingua franca in different contexts. And to some extent also understanding the language, the discourse, the skills used or employed during that use. What is going on when we communicate in English with other non-native speakers. It's also about networking, collaborating with other teachers, engaging in a critical reflection, thinking about what is possible, what our own teaching context allows. Some contexts are more open to an ELF-aware approach, some are not that open. Of course, it incorporates very largely the refugees and the immigrant populations that populate our schools, especially in Europe, but also outside of Europe. And we want to, essentially, we view English as a means, as a kind of, as an instrument, as a discourse, as a way to communicate with other people that everybody can accept as their own language. So this is not the language of the majority, it's the language that everybody shares. Also, ENRICH is innovative. There's a large aspect of innovation in what we do in the ENRICH project. That's why if you follow the ENRICH training program, there are different sections in the program that focus on translanguaging, focus on task-based learning, CLIL, content and language integrated learning, and using ICT to develop learners' communicative and other transversal skills, skills that go beyond communicating and focusing on the language aspect of what we do, such as creativity, collaborating with other people, and so on. Of course, culture is also a very important aspect. It's the awareness of the social and pedagogical value of European cultural heritage and of skills for using it as the content, using that cultural component as the content for all these different ways of teaching ELF. All this was done through the development of what we would like to believe that it is a high quality CPD, Continuous Professional Development course, that is blended. It has both an online, mainly it's an online course, but it is open to communicating and collaborating with more experienced teachers who can act as mentors. And this is what we did to a large extent with our own teachers, the participants. It also incorporates an experiential component and a peer learning component, the importance of learning from one another's applications of ELF awareness in their own teaching context, thinking about it, and of course linking these practices with and drawing conclusions about teacher education as well. Ideally, we want to foster innovation. We see ELF and ELF awareness as an opportunity for growing as a teacher, becoming a better English language teacher in general. So this gives us the opportunity, ELF itself and the research around ELF give us this opportunity to invite our teachers to see this new world that they were probably not really aware of. They knew that English is, everybody knows that English is a global language, but really the ENRICH project gave them the opportunity to dig deep into it, think about the applications and opportunities that this has for their own contexts, and actually go further and experiment with this. We developed quite a few case studies of such applications that can also inform policy, educational policy. It's very useful for teacher education programs and for curricular development programs. And of course, it informs research, and there's going to be a lot of research, hopefully coming out of this project. Now, as far as the conference is concerned, we have definitely come a long way. As you can see, let me just say that the conference, the ENRICH Project, in less than 1 month, starting January 1st, 2022, the entire teacher education program that we developed for the ENRICH Project will be open and freely available to whoever wants to use it from the project's website. So we'll send everybody a note informing you when this actually happens, so that you can, if you want, you can access it and use it, start playing around with it. So this project has given us the opportunity to meet with hundreds of teachers and, of course, to put together this international conference. And I'm thrilled to report that the conference has stirred a lot of interest. Stefania, my good colleague, has just informed me that the registrations for the conference have reached 1,000. So we have 1,000 people who've registered for the conference. I hope everybody is able to participate from 68 countries, which is amazing, from all over the world. So in the next 3 days, we will have the opportunity, you will have the opportunity to engage in 5 plenary talks presented by scholars of international repute, pioneers in researching English as a lingua franca and its implications for and applications in teaching and learning. You're going to engage in 3 roundtables and 2 colloquia, engaging unique groups of scholars, exchanging their viewpoints on key issues and concerns regarding ELF and the ELF-aware practice. And I'm really grateful to have among us as discussants in these roundtables 2 of the pioneers in applied linguistics research globally, Professor Henry Widowson and Professor Barbara Zeidlerhofer. I'd like to thank you very much. Of course, we are particularly grateful for the 90 paper and poster presentations that will be presented by no less than 130 presenters from 25 countries in total. And again, I would like to sincerely thank everyone for their interest, support, and for being here with us. I'm convinced that there is a lot to be learned and communicated from this conference, and I really hope you enjoy presenting and attending it. Sadly, in this distance mode.